So what we're going to do, we're going to get going with the program, and we're going to now have the invocation by Pastor Frank Jackson from the Faith Presbyterian Church. Pastor Jackson here? Okay. Well, I tell you what, is he here?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Okay, come on.
Getting over here. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Thank
Come
you.
on. Yes. That's it.
Have me down for the benediction. Fortunately, I'll do the invocation. Let me bow our heads. Our Father and our God, we thank you tonight. We give you praise and we give you glory. And we thank you, Lord, for blessing us to be here to witness this swearing in of Nate Miley, Lord God, the supervisor of Alameda County. And we praise and give you glory for your selection of him, Lord. I pray that you would bless him, Lord God, in this new office, and that he would guide him and lead him, Lord, that all of the people of Alameda County would be blessed and would be encouraged, Lord God, and would come together in unity. We may have the greatest county, Lord God, in all of California. And we thank you for tonight as you would bless this occasion, bless the swearing in, and we give you all of the praise. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, now will you stand and we can have the Pledge of Allegiance by Miss Sarah Miley.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to have remarks by some of our elected officials here today. So we will have our first remark by the Honorable Sheila Jordan, Superintendent of Alameda County Board of Education. Miss Andrea, okay, we'll go with the next one. You know how parking is. We're going to do something about that, aren't we, Lord? Okay. Okay, the Honorable Doug Seiden, Director of East Bay Regional Park District.
Our mistress of ceremony, to our almost supervisor, Nate Miley, ladies and gentlemen. You know, the English language has a certain inadequacy when it comes to talking about our almost supervisor, Nate Miley. The little bit I remember from my New Testament Greek class was there was a tense that you could use that could describe Nate. We might, acceptable sir, we all know you as Nate, even though this formal occasion, supervisor, almost Nate Miley. This particular tense, the aorist tense, describes an action that's completed, an action that's going on right now, and an action that's going to take place. And if I spoke enough Greek, and if you understood enough Greek, I could use that. But since failing that, let's go to the English tense, where I'm going to have to use past tense, present tense, and future tense to describe Nate Miley. Nate Miley is a person who makes a difference. You know, Nate Miley is a person who has made a difference. Now, Wednesday I'm going to be introducing Nate, but he's going to be the key speaker for the Alameda County chapter of the California Special Districts Association. And as president, I'll be introducing him. And I thought I knew enough about Nate that I'd be able to make a proper introduction. But I thought I want to be sure that I have dates correct. So I called Andrew Wicks and said, Andrew, would you fax me Nate's bio, his bibliography? So I just want to check some dates to be sure I'm correct. Well, that was a mistake, because it's several pages and it's in small print. In fact, I went back and read it just before I came, and my eyes still hurt. But it had to be small print to get it all that Nate has done, for he has certainly been a person of accomplishment here in the city of Oakland, especially in relationship to working with seniors, working with housing, with youth, with community development, with employment, and open space. So Nate Miley has been a person who has made a difference. But he's also a person who's making a difference right now. You know, he has this ability to bring people together in problem solving, and in many areas that we could cite, but as a park director, I especially want to pick up that which he's doing to give people the opportunity to get into open space. There's been a number of advocates for getting people to shoreline. I see Richard Weenie here, and others that through the years have made that contribution. But once a month, for several years now, Nate has been bringing together persons who have a concern, neighborhood persons, individual citizens, representatives of government, of the environment, government, nonprofit groups. And what can we do to create trails along waterways? What can we do to get people along the shorelines? And so I have a special appreciation for what he is doing there. So Nate, you are a person who is right now making a difference. Based on this record, we can predict accurately, I think, that Nate Miley will be a person who will make a difference as our newest elected member of the Board of Supervisors. The German theologian has a saying, I think, that we feel here today, Nate. Dr. Boltman has said that every new beginning contains a surplus of hope. Every new beginning contains a surplus of hope. And that's the way we feel about you, and I know the county and your colleagues and the Board of Supervisors feel that way. Yes, Nate Miley is a person who has made a difference, who is making a difference, and will make a difference. Congratulations.
Okay, our next speaker is a very good friend of mine because I think I can get some Raider tickets. Ignacio de la Fuente, President of the Oakland City Council.
Thank you. I've got so many friends this week. Really, definitely a pleasure to be here today with my colleague. I don't know how many times anybody in this room that watch the City Council heard the phrase, I don't want to get emotional, but this or that or the other. I like to get emotional to have Vice Mayor Henry Chang, well, not the Vice Mayor anymore, we just took away that this morning, but Council Member Henry Chang at large, the Dean of the Council, Council Member Spees, Mr. Miley, we're here to be with you at this reception tonight. But on a serious note, let me tell you that I think Doug Seiden is correct. I think that a lot of the fear sometimes is that a person that's leaving the council that is challenged tremendous issues and has been the champion of issues in the City Council, issues that sometimes other people are afraid to take on or are too controversial to take on. And I can tell you without any equivocation that Nate Miley has been the person of the council that has taken some of those issues on. I know that the seniors might feel a little bit like they're losing their champion of the City Council. I can guarantee you that Nate Miley already gave us direction and told us that he was going to be watching some of the things that he has started to make sure that we continue with some of that commitment to the seniors. But you have to look at it in a way that you are gaining a champion in the Board of Supervisors. And I think that champion, obviously, our Councilmember Miley, that goes from the City Council to the Board of Supervisors. A lot of people ask why I support Nate Miley. No question about it that I'm the easiest person to get along in the City Council. But I think that somehow people wonder how we get along or how Nate Miley support De La Fuente support Miley for almost every race that Miley has been getting on any type of a challenge. And I can tell you that I know Nate long before we went in the Board of Supervisors, long before we went in the City Council, longest before we run for office, we know each other. It was a guy that convinced me when I used to own a building, my union used to own a building on 44th and International Boulevard, and the person that convinced me to allow to use the building for community groups to use that building at that time, I'm talking about 20 years, 15 years ago, was Councilmember Nate Miley, so we go back a long ways. And I'm here really to pay tribute to to all his legacy that he is leaving for us in the city. And this is not just really talking. There's several issues that really Nate Miley leave with the city of Oakland. We were talking about with our neighbor that really championed alcohol problems in liquor stores, establishment, things that really were tremendous lobbying power and all of that. I can tell you that Nate Miley was one of the people that took the initiative to really make sure that we deal with this issue in our community and in our districts, and I think that we owe a little gratitude for him for that. And many, many other issues, so I'm not going to stay here really for that long. Just here, my friend, my brother, to thank you for all your work, thank you for all your commitment. The last thing, I went on record, because I said that this morning in the City Council. I went on record here for the Board of Supervisors. Nate Miley asked me that he would like to continue working with us in the city and some of the committees that he started, the county-wide committees that deal with several different issues in our county. And he wanted to continue participating in that. And we said, I talked to Spees and to Henry Chang, and they said yes. He has to pay the way, though. So now that he's in the county and he has all this surplus in the county, we're going to make sure that his contribution to some of those committees that he has started and some of those commitments that he leaves us a legacy to continue on will get funding from the county. So I really appreciate that, Nate. So with that, I really, again, on behalf of my colleagues in the City Council, the ones that are here, the ones that are not here, I'd really like to thank you for your 10 years plus of service to the city. And I can tell you that you're not leaving us, really. We know where you are, and we'll definitely pick up the phone when we have to. Thank you very much, my brother.
Our next speaker is the Honorable Sheila Jordan, Superintendent of Alameda County Board of Education.
Well, good evening. It is quite an honor to be here in front of you all, and it's a great crowd here to welcome Nate Miley as he moves from council member to county supervisor. And I knew he could do it. He ran a great race, and the reason he ran a great race, and the reason why the people were wise enough to choose him, is because this is a man who has a track record that we are all very proud of. And Nate and I go back over 15 years when we got together around youth and seniors, the two most vulnerable sections of our population. And I think most people know that I come out of education and have been a long-time youth advocate. And Nate has done so much with the seniors in our community. And that was how we came together. We bonded around a promise to each other that we would work together and always keep the needs of our seniors and our youth high on the agenda for the city of Oakland and for the county of Alameda. And I served as a school board member and then joined Nate on the city council. Nate, I think, has always been known. I think everybody who's here knows that they can count on Nate for his courageous stands and for his hard work and commitment to the community he represents. It was Nate who was before his time with the smoking issue. I remember when he started talking about cutting back on smoking and banning smoking from restaurants and workplaces, we all knew he was ahead of his time. But you know what? We supported him. We knew he was right. And in fact, time caught up with him. Same thing with, there was Nate who led the, what do I want to call it? Replacement needles. Needles. I went out there with Nate, and it was, he said this is a safety and health issue, and we've got to make a difference, and we've got to do something about the spreading of AIDS, and we've got to do something about working to make the issue of drugs a health care issue. And sure enough, we got Prop 36, we've got you know, I mean, the rest of the state has followed Nate, and I think that he has done an incredible job as the chair of Health and Safety Committee. Ignacio de la Fuente, Ignacio's the president of the council, spoke a little bit about the things he's done around creating safe environments here in Oakland. And I feel very, very proud, and I am looking to Nate as to be a strong supporter of health and safety, of environment. He is a good servant of the people, and I think we are very, very lucky to have him move on and to bring with him the knowledge that he brings around the work that he's done in the city of Oakland. And I look very forward to working as a colleague with him around taking the issues that we know about in Oakland. I have to say, as a county official, there is nothing that comes up that I haven't dealt with in the city of Oakland. Because the city of Oakland encapsulates so many problems, not just of the Bay Area, but not only the county, but the state and the country. So we have a fine leader here, and I'd say we all welcome Nate Miley.
Thank you, Sheila. Our next speaker is that other Miley, Mr. Christopher Miley. Give him a round of applause.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, I'd like to congratulate my dad on a fine victory, and I'd also like to thank everyone who came out and helped. It was really a team effort. It took a group to win this election, not just my father, but anyone who helped. I think they deserve a round of applause tonight. And I could recall since I was, this high, my father walking precincts, working with the seniors when he founded them, and I always wondered why he would go to all these meetings, and I'd always ask my mom, where's my dad? How come I can't be with my dad? I can remember running around rooms like this one, trying to entertain myself, and I finally realized that it's to serve all you people in this room and to make a difference for the community that he lives in. And not only that, but he gets paid. And I just got my license and I'd like to have something to drive. But seriously, it's real amazing watching what he does every day. Living with them, seeing how much work he does. I don't think people in this room really know the kind of work he has to do. Where he just sits at the dining room table and plugs away while we're sitting there, Dad, do this with us. Dad, play this game. And no, I have to work for all of you. I may not like it, but it's definitely worth it, and I one day might want to follow in his footsteps. I heard Charlie said maybe one day he might run for governor. I'd like to see that. I think all
Fantastic, Christopher. I know how hard he works because when he was walking the hills of Grass Valley where I live, he ate at my house every day, so my husband put him on our income tax. Okay. Our next speaker is the mayor, Mayor Jerry Brown.
Well, I'm here to congratulate our newest supervisor, Nate Miley. He goes back to activism, OCO, which was founded by a Jesuit priest that I started in the seminary with way back in 1956. So I feel a certain connection that gave rise to the activism that ultimately became OCO. At least that was part of it when that began. And the other point I have to make reference to, Mr. Supervisor, I want to thank you again for giving us the penultimate vote on Measure D that allowed us to add to the diversity of the elected school board. That, you know, we talk about diversity, we need ideological diversity and electoral diversity and bureaucratic diversity. Or is it procedural diversity? And the main point I want to say, though, is Oakland, we're one civic culture. It's many neighborhoods, many jurisdictions, many chiefs, but at the end of the day, it's one people coming closer together under this idea of Oakland. And we have the city government, and then there's, of course, the county government, and all these functions, foster care kids, probation, sheriff, building courts, and then we have potholes and police and fire. We have to pull and schools. All that ultimately touches people who don't really pay a lot of attention to what jurisdictional entity is most directly responsible. So I am very excited about the prospect that someone from the city government will go over to the county government and help us link closer together as we serve the people of Oakland. So I think it's a great day for the county and for the city, and I'm glad that, Nate, you made me support you. When you made me write that letter, even though I had to say some unkind things about your opponent, even though I hope she's here, I think it was nice, but in this business, you gotta be for one or the other. And if you're for one, you know the other one is bad. Nate Miley, congratulations. And let's work with all those city counties.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next speaker is the Honorable Dan Siegel that I sent an email to about some Raider tickets. Honorable Dan Siegel.
Gwen said she had some tickets for me, and I'm very eager to take her up on that. And yeah, it's interesting to follow the mayor, and since the question of Measure D is raised, to me, Measure D has been a test in many ways, and a test of 15 years of friendship and close collaboration with Supervisor Miley, because we have worked long and hard together and have agreed most of the time, and indeed our friendship survives Measure D. I hope the school board does as well. The County of Alameda, the City of Oakland, and his new colleagues on the Board of Supervisors are indeed lucky to have Nate Miley as a supervisor from the City of Oakland and East County as well. Nate has over the past 10 years epitomized for me what a successful and effective local legislative official can do. On the school board, on the city council, on the board of supervisors, for those who watch the meetings, there's lots of discussion. There's lots of reacting to those huge agendas that come in every week where we have to vote yes or no on one issue or another. To me, the trick has always been to try to stay ahead of the curve, to develop, articulate, and enact a program. And that's what Nate has done on the Oakland City Council. And I can only just make quick reference to a couple of the projects where I feel we've been lucky enough to work together. Oakland is known positively for many things around the country. One of them is its alcohol program. Over many years, people in the city of Oakland were very unhappy with the large number of liquor stores proliferating, particularly in our flatlands neighborhoods, and the kinds of nuisances associated with those liquor stores, whether it's people hanging around drinking and harassing passersby, drug dealing, prostitution, and so on. With help from community groups, Nate studied the issue, came up with an alcohol outlet ordinance which allows the city of Oakland to crack down in a severe and effective way on problem liquor stores. That ordinance was passed, it was implemented, it was challenged in the courts all the way up to the California Supreme Court, and it was approved and it has made a concrete difference for people in this city, because now the city attorney and police department have a weapon that they can use, another weapon. The issue of community policing is an issue which, again, has been popular around the country. And Nate and a couple of other members of the city council, particularly Councilman Dick Spees, who I see here, were the leaders in developing that program, articulating that program, winning their brother and sister council members to support the program, finally enacting a piece of legislation, an Oakland City ordinance, which is literally looked at as a model across the United States, as a model for community policing, for the community and the police department working in partnership to make life better for the people in their communities. And Nate deserves the credit for that. And as I said at his last council meeting a couple of weeks ago, one reason I'm sad to see him leave the council is that we need to replace him as a champion of community policing on the Oakland City Council. But Nate deserves all the credit for that as well. And then as a third example, in recent years, again, addressing a concrete problem in our community, particularly in our flatlands neighborhoods, issues of pedestrian safety. Nate, again, has been the council member who does the research, who goes out into the community, who listens to people, and develops and articulates and requires city staff to implement a program to make sure that our children know how to get to and from school safely, and that other measures are taken to improve the welfare and safety of people in our neighborhood. So the people of Oakland owe this to Nate Miley. They owe their increased safety to Nate Miley. He's a passionate person. I'm sure that those of you here who are city employees and city administrators, some of you have heard the whip of his tongue from time to time. I'm sure that county administrators will get used to that as well. But you have to remember one thing. This is not a political ideologue. This is not a person who likes to hear himself speak. This is a person who makes concrete, meaningful, long-lasting improvements for the lives of the people that he serves, and we're going to benefit a lot from having Nate on the County Board of Supervisors. Thank you, Nate.
Okay, now I can say this, and I don't get a chance to say this to our elected officials because I don't get to see you often. But I want to say on behalf of everyone in this room, I want to thank you for taking the time from your families to make this place a better place for all of us to live. So as I introduce you that are here this evening, just kind of raise your hand so that people that don't get to see you and know you personally will be able to see you. The Alameda County Supervisor Gail Steele. The Honorable Judge Barbara Miller. Pat O'Connelly, the Auditor and Comptroller. Council Member at Large Henry Chang. Our new Alameda County Supervisor, Alice Lai Bitkirk. Under Sheriff Curtis Watson. Our City Council Member, Dick Spees. Dennis Wasby from the Castro Valley Sanitation District. Mr. Phil Takami. I know. City Council Member Jane Bruner. Jean Kwan. Frank Piang. Our Court Commissioner and my neighbor, Darlene Ayers Johnson. Mr. Bill Patterson. Barry Bingham from the Alameda Unified School District. Francis DeSanta Jefferson, Executive Director of the Service Employees International Union. Watson from the Piedmont School District. Alameda County Supervisor Keith Carson. Mark Friedman, El Cerrito City Council. County Council Richard Winnie. And you saw our mayor and Ignacio de la Fuente. And so we just want to say to all of you, thank you so much for making this place a better place for us to live. So with that, we will now be ready for the oath by the Honorable David Karshner.
Thank you very much. I am very pleased and honored to be called upon to administer the oath to our new county supervisor, Nate Miley. Let me tell you before I begin that I want to publicly thank Nate for all the support he gave to my candidacy. See, ladies and gentlemen, only this morning was I sworn in as your newest Alameda County Superior Court judge. Thank you very much, Nate. And Nate, I think you won't mind if I also thank a number of people in the room. I won't name you, but so many of you were very instrumental. Your election was a little easier than mine. I won by 50.9%, ladies and gentlemen. So it was this weekend. Dave, would you please come to the podium? And before I begin, let me show you the certificate of election and oath of office. Please let me read the preamble before we actually administer the oath. The preamble. I, Bradley J. Clark, Register of Voters in and for the County of Alameda, in the state of California, do hereby certify that a general election held in and for said county on November 7, 2000, that Nate Miley was elected to the office of member, Alameda County Board of Supervisors, District 4, as appears by the official returns of said election and the statement of votes cast now on file. Therefore, Mr. Clark said, in witness thereof, I have hereunto affixed my hand and seal this first day of December, the year 2000. Now, Nate, would you please raise your right hand? Would you repeat after me, please? I, Nate Miley, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Ladies and gentlemen, your new supervisor.
I'm going to try not to get emotional here. Because I see so many friends in the audience who have been with me both on this journey and throughout the years of my efforts to serve the city of Oakland as an elected official. And I sincerely appreciate the support that all of you have provided me over the years. As my son pointed out, I didn't do this by myself. I did it with a lot of good help from a lot of people over the years. And I want to give thanks to all of you, and I also want to give thanks to the Lord above, because sometimes, just like some of the council members mentioned this morning, we don't necessarily feel deserving of all the blessings that are
that are heaped upon us. And I really feel that the Lord has blessed me in many ways. And I want to live up to those blessings, and I want to live up to the responsibility and the trust and the confidence that all of you have placed in my hands. Let me just initially acknowledge some people that it's important to acknowledge. You know, I couldn't do any of this work that I do without, once again, the support of a lot of good people, but also staff. Because I push my staff pretty hard, and you know, we try to serve the community as well as we can. We try not to drop any balls, but inevitably some things fall through the cracks, but we're always running and running and running and running hard to stay in the race. And then a lot of you help us do the job we try to discharge. So let me just have my staff come up here. There are a number of my staff in the audience, so why don't you all come up here and I'll introduce them once they're all up here. Both present and future staff. Is there anybody outside? Any of my staff outside? Because I am missing one person that I don't see up here. Where's that guy? Bring him up here. Where's? There he is. Okay. Good. He's coming up here now. Let me start on this end, and I'll just introduce who we have here. Seth Kaplan. Seth's going to be working with me on the County Board of Supervisors, doing policy work, budget work, and other types of policy type work. And Seth has worked with me over the years, helping me write grants to help fund the United Seniors and other efforts that I've attempted to go forth on. So Seth will be joining my staff at the county level. Seth Kaplan. And we have Bob Swanson. Bob is new, but Bob has really shown his merit because he worked with me on this race for the County Board of Supervisors. And I tell you, I've been in 4 races, 4 tough races over the years to 3 tough times to get reelected, to get elected, to get reelected to the City Council, and then this race to get on the Board of Supervisors. And we've put out a lot of campaign signs, but I tell you, I have never had a concentration of signs in one spot as many as I had as a result of Bob Swanson. We had how many signs on one street?
Must have been 80.
80 signs on one street, ladies and gentlemen. 80 signs. Now, when you have a person that can go door to door, and that's just on one street. There were other streets too that had signs, but when you have one person that can produce that type of return for you, you know I'm going to hire him. So Bob's going to be working on my staff and helping me out in the unincorporated areas of Hayward, Castro Valley, Ashland, and Cherryland. Bob Swanson. Then we have Darryl Stewart. Darryl Stewart works on my pedestrian safety staff. He does the organizing. He also lives in the supervisorial district. And Darryl has been involved in the community for a number of years, and he joined the staff of the pedestrian safety project as an organizer not quite a year ago. And Darryl's going to continue with the project, but he will also be coming on my staff once we find an organizer to replace him on the pedestrian safety project, Darryl Stewart. So we have Fran Gage. Fran Gage actually started working for me as a Jesuit volunteer. The mayor mentioned the Jesuits. I was a Jesuit volunteer back in the 70s. As a Jesuit volunteer, you make about $50 at the time. I made $50. Now they make $75 a month. And it's a ministry, and you go out and you work in the community and you try to help people, and you try to make a difference. You try to change the quality of life, and you try to make things better for folks. So Fran came from New York to work with me with the seniors, and that's sort of like my farm system. I take all my staff who are going to organize for me through the seniors, and Fran worked for me for a number of years with the United Seniors. Then she worked on my city council staff, and now she's been the coordinator for the pedestrian safety project for the past couple of years, which is a project that nearly receives $1 million to work on pedestrian safety in the city of Oakland. And Fran will continue to coordinate that project for the city of Oakland. Fran Gage. And it's befitting that on my left here is Joe DeFries. Joe DeFries. This is my left-hand guy. This is my left-hand guy. And Joe's worked for me for quite a number of years now, and he's going to be going with me to the county. If I can't make a meeting, Joe makes that meeting. Sometimes we have 2, 3, and 4 meetings a night, but we try to make sure we're at the meetings, because my feeling is I can't represent people unless I feel it, taste it, smell it, see it, that sort of thing. I have to have empathy for your pain. I have to have empathy for what you're struggling with, and that way I can go back and address those issues more effectively. And if I can't be there, then Joe's there, or somebody else from my staff. But Joe will be going with me to the County Board of Supervisors. He's going to be my field director, director of field operations, and if you don't see me, you're going to see Joe DeFries. Joe DeFries, he was also my campaign manager in this race as well as my last race. Joe DeFries. And then, like I said, it's befitting. Now on my right side is Andra Wicks. You know, Joe and Andra. I tell you, I work hard. But Andra, I think many of you know, if anybody works harder than I do, it's Andra Wicks. I mean, how many of you have called the office and talked to Andra Wicks? Raise your hands. I mean, she is just incredible. She'll work Saturdays, she works Sundays, she works midnight, she works well into the hours of the morning. She's just phenomenal. And Andra's also primarily responsible for this swearing-in ceremony. She pretty much pulled this together with my assistant by herself. So Andra, she is just so invaluable. And she's going to be in charge of internal operations for me at the county, and she's worked for me for about the last 6 years on my city council staff. So Andra's going to be coming with me. Quite frankly, without Joe and Andra, as well as all my staff, but without the two of them, you know, I really would have a real difficult time doing the things I want to do to service all of you. So Andra Wicks. Now, if you think of this in military terms, if you think of Joe like as a field marshal, and you think of Andra like as a lieutenant colonel or something, you can think of this guy as a master sergeant. David Shalinsky. David is, in fact, we're surprised to see him. He was off skiing somewhere, and we didn't expect to see him here. David has worked with me as a Jesuit volunteer as well. He came in from St. Louis, worked with me with the seniors for $75 a month for a year. Then he worked on my staff with the seniors after that for a while. Then he worked on my city council staff. Then when I decided to run for the Board of Supervisors, I took David off of that and said, now you're going to coordinate my campaign. And so David coordinated the campaign both in the primary. He went off to law school in the summer of last year, decided he didn't want to do law school, worked on a campaign back in St. Louis for a couple of months, knew that I was in trouble, and said, I'm going to come back to Oakland and bail this guy out. He comes back to Oakland in October and bails me out. David, Joe was out in the field doing the work he needed to do, and Andra was behind the scenes helping me do a lot of the other work. David was staffing the campaign office, making sure everything worked as well as it needed to work so we could win this election. So, you know, I owe a lot to David as well as all of my staff. Now, I don't know if David's going to come back and work for me or not. He's in his 20s, and he's kind of roaming the earth in search of himself. So maybe he'll come back, maybe he won't. But if he doesn't, and I get in trouble, we'll just put out, you know, a beacon or some type of signal and say, David, come and help us, and he'll come running. But so these are, I think this is all my staff. Yeah, these are my staff. Okay, these are my staff. These are the people that help me do the things I do. And then I also have volunteers. I've had a lot of volunteers over the years that have helped me. One of my volunteer that's still presently working with me is Eva Aguilar. And where is Eva? Right there, Eva Aguilar. Eva's been volunteering at my office my district office and my United Seniors office for about the last 2 years. She comes in and helps to answer phones. She goes out to meetings and talks to people. She does a lot, and she does that as a volunteer. And without Eva sometimes out there running interference for me, as have other volunteers and other staff over the years run interference for me, I'd be in a world of trouble, So I really appreciate Eva and the volunteers I've had, and some of them are here over the years. So these are my staff, and I've kind of given you a sense of who's going to be with me at the county. And once again, I just want to thank them for their dedication and the time they put in to helping me serve all of you. Because like I said, without them, I couldn't do the job I do. And I'm really blessed to have just really good staff that are supportive and stand with me. So thank you all. I also want to thank the unions, the Central Labor Council, SEIU, Local 616, 535, 250, and the Carpenters Union, and all of the building and trade unions, as well as, like I said, the Central Labor Council and all the unions that make up the Central Labor Council. Because organized labor has been a staunch ally of mine ever since I've run for elected office. And I'm a strong supporter of working people, working families, living wage, prevailing wage. I think it's very, very important that we stand with our brothers and sisters from organized labor, and I'm really pleased that they supported me in this race because they really helped me in the past. They helped to deliver me this race as well. So I just want to acknowledge labor, and they're out there in the audience. So thank you, labor. And I also want to thank Henry Moselle, Diane Ralston, the Democratic clubs for their support, because it was the Democratic clubs that did a lot of walking, a lot of phoning, that also helped me in this past race as well, when some other branch of the Democratic Party, which we will not talk about, decided not to support me, but it was the clubs that came through, the grassroots clubs. So I want to thank the Democratic clubs for their support and their help. Now, before I thank anyone else, how many of you made a contribution to my race, a monetary contribution? Raise your hand. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You know, money is the mother's milk of politics. I didn't make it up, but it is. And because I had more than 400 individual contributors, I raised well over $250,000 for this race, probably closer to $300,000 when you count the primary and the runoff. And I really want to thank my contributors, because some of my contributors I went back to not once, not twice, 3 times I went back to them asking them, please give me more money so I can run a competitive race, because you need that money to get your message out and be competitive. And that's just the nature of the beast. And I really sincerely thank my contributors. How many of you made a phone call or phone calls for me or walked the precinct? Raise your hand. Thank you. These are the ground troops. These are the people who brave the weather, the heat, the rain at times, the dogs, the belligerent neighbors, all sorts of things. I want to thank you for getting out there and walking and making phone calls. I mean, I'm sure they can tell you about some of the phone calls they had to deal with. I want to thank you, because once again, the difference between winning and losing isn't always money. It's the people-to-people contact. And when you have people who contact other people and talk to them about why they should support someone, there's nothing stronger than that door-to-door or that contact over the phone. And I really want to thank those of you who, once again, made phone calls on my behalf and walked precincts for me. Really thank you so very much, because I tell you, I could not win this race. I would not have won this race without that type of support. So thank you so very much. As my son pointed out, and I think others, this was truly a team effort. It was truly a team effort. There were no superstars on this team. There were just a lot of good, solid players at every position. A lot of good, solid players at every position who helped to carry this campaign to victory. I want to thank those who held house parties for me. I want to thank those, raise your hand, who voted for me. I know some of you are constituents in the room. I want to thank you for voting for me as well. Even if you are not a constituent, you still know you can call my office and somebody, if you don't get a live voice, our hope is to get back with you in 24 hours and try to work on your issues as best we can and your concerns and run interference. We're steadfastly committed to that. We'll continue to do that. And if we're not doing that, you let us know so we can try to improve and do better. Because we want to serve you. I really feel that representing you as a council person now, as a supervisor, is a real privilege. It's an honor, and I don't take that lightly. I'm a Christian. I pray sometimes when I have to make these tough decisions, and I pray sometimes when I don't have to make tough decisions, because I need the intervention of the Lord to help guide me at times. Because, I want to please everyone. I want to be liked by everyone. But I know I can't please everyone and I can't be liked by everyone. And these issues sometimes are real tough, and all I can do is try to do the best I can under the circumstances that I find myself at the moment. I also want to, you've met my son and my daughter. I want to acknowledge my ex-wife, Fran Miley, who's over there. Because, I've been divorced since 1989, but it's really great to have your ex-wife supporting you. When some of that negative stuff started coming down, and she got upset about it, my son got upset about it, and it's like I didn't instigate it; they just got upset about it. And so it was great to have their support with me, because I haven't always done everything right, and I'm constantly trying to improve myself. And with God's grace and with your help, we'll continue to improve. I'm not going to talk about what I hope to accomplish as a supervisor, because I hope to accomplish a lot. Because I don't want to just be a good supervisor. I want to be a great supervisor. I want to be a great supervisor. And I'm not saying that to brag or boast. I'm saying that very humbly. I want to be a great supervisor. I'm going to work my tail off to make sure that I serve you and move this county forward, so that it can move in directions that are very positive and that are very forthcoming and forthright for all of us. I'm looking forward to working with members of the Board of Supervisors. I'm particularly looking forward to working with my good friend and running partner, Keith Carson, who's back there. Keith and I jog every Tuesday and Thursday morning around 5:30. If I don't get up in the morning and run the lake with Keith at 5:30, then I feel guilty. And the only problem is Keith's a little faster than I am, so he keeps me feeling guilty. So I got to try to keep up with him. When you get to be my age, and you're a young man like Keith, Well, anyway, I want to thank you all. Thank you so very much. Like I said, I see a lot of good friends in the audience. I could acknowledge many people, but I just want to say, if I haven't acknowledged you, or if there's an elected official that we forgot to acknowledge, is there any elected official we didn't acknowledge? Okay. Elihu's here? Elihu Harris? Where's Elihu? Right here. Oh, there's our former mayor. And Gwen's going to acknowledge a few other folks. So thank you all so very much. Thank you for coming out. I'm really humbled that so many of you would come out for an event to see my swearing in. I am really humbled. And I'm just really pleased that, like I said, I can say so many things about different people I've worked with. And Dan and the mayor and Ignacio and others talked about the big items. And the big items are important. But the big items are just as important as the little issues we work on for each of you in your neighborhoods or for each of you as individuals. And I look around the audience and look at a number of people that we've worked on little issues for that are very meaningful. They're meaningful to those individuals. They might not be meaningful to anyone else, but they're meaningful to them and they're meaningful to their neighborhood. And that's just as important to me as the big issues. And we try to look at everything that comes our way. And we want to continue to try to do that. So once again, thank you all. And we're looking forward to serving you as supervisors.
There are a couple of people that I recognize here. Charles Snipes, who's director of the Fairview Fire Protection District in Hayward, California. And also Tom Garino is here, the CEO of the San Leandro Chamber of Commerce. Tom Garino, raise your hand. Haven't we enjoyed enjoyed this today, you guys. Give it a round of applause. Where did Nate go? Nate, where did Nate go? Oh, look here. Let me take my glasses off so I can see. Nate, before you leave and go to the reception, Robert Harris, who's the Vice President of Environmental Affairs for PG&E, said to call over there, give his name, and you have PG&E for life. Okay, now we're going to have a benediction by the pastor, Frank Jackson.
Amen for that. Well, I thank God for being here. Congratulations, Nate, for your new office, your new role here. And I want to thank my brother Bob Jackson for taking the role early. That's the real Jackson back then. I thank God for him on there. And Brother Nate, I guess you did not talk with a couple of people before you asked me to do this benediction. I guess you didn't talk to Sheila Jordan or L.U. Harris or Jane Burnham, because as a preacher, when I stand up here, something that's going through a temptation. When I look around and see all these people, I just want to take an offering. So. Brother Bob knows what I'm talking about. Brother Bob Jackson knows what I'm talking about. So we're going to close out and give you a Presbyterian prayer. Won't make you glad twice. Glad when I got up here, glad when I sat down. So let's pray. Lord our God, we thank you for this event, this happening today, that heaven is looking down upon this. And we thank you for your servant, Nate Miley, and his commitment to the cause of the kingdom in terms of justice and righteousness for your people. We thank you for those who are assembled here today. This is not just Nate's situation. This is all of us, as citizens of this community, as citizens of people. We're all called to be a part of enhancing the quality of life for this city and this area in which we live in. So we thank you for him. In the moments, the dark moments that will come, give him wisdom. Let him remember these moments, that he is called to be faithful to the people to which who have elected him, not only by the vote, but by your providence that you've called him. So we thank you for that. May he not only be a lover of the people, but he will be a lover of truth and of justice. And if that's the case, at the end of his term, he can say with many, well done, well done. God bless him. Thank you for it in Christ's name. Amen.